I'm Professor Patti Girardi, and I teach brand equity management, and I also teach a new elective called Sports Marketing, 693L. It is a really fun course, and it really is very relevant to any marketer. Let me tell you a little bit about the course for those of you who have not taken it yet. It covers everything from the A, B's, and C's of, or the 4 P's, if you will, of marketing a sports product, but it also talks about marketing through sports. So if you are a brand manager for Wheaties, or Budweiser, or McDonald's, or Visa, at some point you're probably going to have to create a campaign that has something to do with sports. So it's actually really relevant. We do a lot, there's a lot of emphasis on negotiation and strategy and branding, sponsorship, and advertising. So it's really a neat course, and if you are in need of an elective, I hope that you will consider that. Let me tell you how I was planning to go ahead and do this, and if you would like to do this differently, that's just fine, because this is your session. But what I intend to do is kind of go through what I used to do as a sports marketer. In my former life, I was a regional vice president for Fox Cable Networks, heading up sales and marketing for the western part of the United States for 17 cable television networks, including Fox Soccer Channel, the Fox Sports Net regional sports channels, Fox College Sports, Fox Sports in Espanol, Fuel, Speed Channel, lots of sports networks, Big Ten. I'm going to go into a lot of detail about that job, just so that you can get a handle on what the day-to-day is like. I'm going to then just segue into some of these different types of opportunities, thoughts on where you might want to look if you're starting out in building your sports marketing career. Hopefully some places that you haven't thought of already. I am not going to go into the basics of career hunting and job hunting and networking. You already know that. That is a waste of your time. And so I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to transition from the opportunity side into some really specific suggestions in terms of websites to hit, organizations to look at, places you might want to join, specific job boards. I'm going to really try to keep an emphasis on the practical. Does that work for everybody? Excellent. Okay, so yes, this is part of my job. Best part of my job, hanging out with Snoop Dogg at the Stanley Cup. I told you a little bit about what I did. Really, my work at Fox centered around launching new sports networks, renewing sports network contracts, and then promoting and negotiating standalone game packages to cable distributors. And I'll get into how we did that. Very interesting, and you come in contact with a lot of interesting characters, I can assure you. And for anybody in this room who's half my age, this is the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Lakers. When I tell you sports is fun, sports is fun. And I never knew before I got this job how fun it would be. So there's the proof. So, day in my life. So in my role, because it revolved around cable networks, our client was really the cable operator, cable distributor, or satellite distributor. And our deals were done directly with them. In this case, Adelphia was our customer. In the big deals, there's typically a marketing budget called support marketing. The objective is to spend a little money promoting the network, supporting the network, so that when it comes time to renew the contract, you can make the case that, hey, we were there helping you support this network, making your cable lineup look good. So this is just an example of something that we did with Adelphia. The AVP volleyball product was part of our Fox Sports Net West 2 channel. And in the Southern California market, we wrapped all the Adelphia vans with fabulous images of the pro volleyball players. So male and female, of course. And I would just refer to this as relationship marketing. Some of the other kinds of things that we did in this regard were events. Events were huge. Cable operators love to be in the community. So, you know, to get an extreme athlete, for example, to a skate park. Did a lot with Tony Hawk at the skate parks, and invited the cable customers to come and kind of experience the channel firsthand. It was really a lot of fun. I mean, you can create a ton of excitement. Fox Sports Grill, great partnership for us, where we could showcase our HD product on a big screen and have a great party. So events, very big. And direct mail, also a very big part of what we did. So a lot of what we did around direct marketing involved helping the cable operator get new customers. The message might be, you know, sign up for Fox Sports Net West 2 on Cox Digital Cable. And we would develop a campaign around that. So lots of activity around relationship marketing. Now this is where it starts to get interesting. I'm going to move into demand building at renewal time. So we're going from this sort of happy, let's plan a campaign together, to strategically, what are we going to do to support our network when it comes time for the cable operator to renew their contract with us? And in this case, this is actually an image from a busking that we placed in anticipation of a sports contract renewal with Cox, where we wanted to have a lot of visibility around the Laker product in the marketplace, so that, you know, the cable operator knew we were there supporting it, and then even more importantly, that the consumer was reminded that you're watching your Lakers on Fox Sports Net. So this sort of gets into some of the strategy piece. Pretty benign, you know, nothing really too contentious about this, pretty standard. Now we're starting to get a little more aggressive. This is what I would refer to as pressure marketing. So in this example, which is a print ad from a specific campaign, actually an integrated marketing communications campaign, that we did to support the Dodgers in Northern California. This was crafted around a 30,000 subscriber market, which is a very small cable market in Northern California that did not carry Fox Sports Net West 2, FSN West 2. Our job was to create so much demand in the marketplace for Dodgers product that we had customers calling the cable office left and right. And I'm sure as a television consumer, whether you have cable or satellite, you've gotten that message at some point before. You know, missing the Super Bowl, call your cable operator. Well, that's why. That's how this comes about. Now, the interesting thing about this particular campaign is that we really liked the guys in the local cable office, and they really wanted this channel. But it was the corporate office that was getting in the way of the launch of this channel in the marketplace. And it was all wrapped up in these much larger negotiations between our companies. So it's a bit of a bargaining chip. So how do we handle that strategically in the marketing? Pretty subtle message, pretty benign message. Call your local cable or satellite provider. We're not picking on the cable operator specifically, who in this case was Comcast. We're not saying call Comcast. We're saying call your cable or satellite provider. So we're kind of straddling that, you know, both sides of the fence there. You know, we're putting the product out there. The cable guys understand, but we're not trying to kill them. You know, we're just trying to build demand for the product. And it worked. We got the launch that we wanted. So that was really a great achievement from a marketing standpoint, because it was really the marketing that played the biggest role in getting this deal. Now, here's where we get to the really interesting stuff. This is an example of a creative that we used, and this was a very aggressive discussion. This discussion was around getting Fox HD product launched in the Seattle marketplace with Comcast. And we were up against an incredible amount of resistance. So, we're barely talking. The companies are barely talking at this point. And we're being asked to figure out how to build so much demand for this high definition product that Comcast will come to us and ask for a deal. So what did we do? We did a ton of PR. Public relations is really hot right now, so we're talking about PR. Not really high cost, tons of PR around having high definition programming in the marketplace. Comcast didn't have it, but we sewed up all of the other cable distributors in the marketplace, the small ones who had overbuilt the cable plant. So as you may know, there's typically only one cable provider in the market. In this case, there were a couple of choices of cable providers. We got the high definition product into everybody else so that Comcast was the only distributor that did not have this product. And as you can see, the call to action is just a little more aggressive this time. So it's call this number now. And once again, it worked. Now, all the examples, I'm going to wrap up here and kind of move on to the next part of the session. But this is to say that it's not always this heated. But I show you the examples because I think it's really important to know that when you're in this world, there's a lot of strategy involved, and it makes for very interesting marketing. Because guess what? Anybody can pull together an event, and this is really something that makes you think about what you're doing. So very interesting. We've done plenty of other deals where the discussions were very, very peaceful, and threw in lots of value-added product, video on demand type product. It came up with win-win strategies. But I show you some of these other ones just so that you can get a taste for what it's like to have to play the chess game, if you will. All right, so let's go into opportunities. And I'm going to start out by just talking about different opportunities. Again, with the goal of maybe just trying to give you some other places to think about that might not sound so traditional. All right, well, here's a list just to start off with. And I'll just kind of go through each one. If anybody has any questions, I invite you to just raise your hand at any time. Academic institutions, right, almost all of them have a sports team. So, definitely one place to consider, especially if you're not mobile, right? Because we all know that most of the big networks are headquartered out of New York. There's a lot going on in LA. But if you're really trying to stay local, it doesn't need to be college. It could be high school. We're talking about places to start. The most important thing is that you do something sports related. Doesn't need to be the big job at CBS Sports. It doesn't need to be that to start. You just have to do something sports related. Everybody hires interns. Everybody hires interns. Advertising agencies, kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're really interested in advertising, you don't have to start at a sports agency because lots of the big agencies do a lot of sports work. So you can always start with just a regular creative agency and just get yourself on a project that's sports related. That happens all the time. Advocacy groups, we heard about the NCAA. I can't think of a better example than that. And I can just say from having Marta in the sports marketing class, so she had tremendous insight, and I know was really benefited the class. So. Cable television, of course, this is my specialty, so I'll spend a little extra time on this one. One thing that is really important to recognize in cable is that there is a tremendous amount of competition right now to monetize team sports rights, and everybody is starting their own cable channel. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but if you think about it, it used to be ESPN and Fox. Those were the two big places to go. And now, I showed you some images of the Lakers. Well, now the Lakers are with Time Warner's cable channel. So, the cable operators are getting into the game. The teams are getting into the game. Yes Network. We've got Nessun up in the Northeast. These are great places to think about. What's your favorite sports team and where are they? Are they on ESPN? Or are there some rumors that maybe they're going to try to venture out on their own? This is happening a lot in cable. So I just encourage you to think through that and really try to read up on it, because a lot of this stuff is just happening. Anybody who's big into baseball, you know about the Dodger deal. Well, those Dodger rights are going to come up for negotiation, and it's going to be really interesting to see who gets the rights to those games. Digital marketing firms. Let me just say that this is another great place, because two talents that are very highly sought after right now that are not necessarily part of the traditional, kind of foundational group of staff at these companies: web and social media. So web marketing. I mean, obviously everybody's got a website now, and there are still so many people in the industry who are not comfortable with web marketing. And this is clearly a strength that everybody in this room brings to the table. So web marketing and social media, great places if you've got those skills to look. Fitness centers, I mean, maybe not the sexiest job to market fitness memberships, but again, it's a place to start, especially if you're not mobile. Whose town doesn't have a fitness center? So just one other idea for you. And leagues, not always about the major leagues. I actually have a friend who is the CFO for Pop Warner football. And it's a cool job, another cool job maybe you wouldn't think about just right off the bat. So, there's lots of minor leagues out there. Again, a great place if you're looking for something regional. Network television is a given, so I really won't talk much about that. The Olympics. This is where a lot of executives get their start in sports marketing. Because obviously, they're held on a regular basis, and they require just an immense volume of bodies, if you will. So I mean, you can think about that. Social media will be ginormous this year with the Olympics. I don't really see that as a trend that's going to slow down. But I do think that versus the last round of games, you're really going to see some very interesting things happening social media-wise with this upcoming Olympics. Sporting goods and apparel, we already mentioned. One place that is not up here that I would also encourage you to think about, especially for those who really want to get a sexy job, are the sports agencies, meaning the sports agents. So IMG worldwide, is the place to be if that's what you want to do. Really, very interesting if you really want to be in the middle of everything. Stadiums, teams, goes without saying. Let me just kind of talk a little bit about the structure of a typical team, and obviously there are no two organizations that are alike, but it's a business. I think it's really important to keep that in mind, that the team, I mean, yes, it's a game, and the athletes are the center of the universe, there's no question about it, and the coaches obviously, but it's still a business, and that is a trend. I mean, it's becoming even more and more of a business, which is great for marketers. And if you think about the team structure, I mean, most teams, they've got a president, and they've got a finance person, and they've got an operations person, and then they've got a marketing staff. Couple areas that that are really great places to look if you want to work for a team: sales, ticket sales, and ad sales. I mean, ad sales really are major driver of the business, and that's a great place to get a start. And then, of course, public relations. There's typically always a public relations person, and then maybe more traditional marketing, event marketing. So some more ideas. And then, again, just to kind of point out, any good consumer marketing that has a product that lends itself to sports requires people who can execute an excellent sports marketing campaign. So again, Budweiser, Visa, Gatorade. Just you can count you can really count them if you think about it. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into some more particulars around websites. These are just some websites that I checked out in advance of the session that had real sports jobs on them. So Indeed, I always put Indeed at the top. I think that's the most robust job bank that there is out there. And there actually is a sports URL, but you don't need it. You can just search for sports jobs. And you can see all these others are really pretty straightforward. Sponsorship specific opportunities, sports jobs for women. These are just some specific places to check out. Again, just purely for job listings. Now, these are important, but as you already know, what's even more important is networking. So I want to go through some areas where you might want to look to see if it might be a great network for you. Okay, so you all know this school. So this is the academic institution. We all know that WVU has a football team. NCAA, we had some conversation around, and again, I think that's a terrific resource, and the Olympics. Okay, this is the Staples Center. I didn't really talk too much about stadiums, but venues are another place to look. And by venues, I don't mean just stadiums. You might think, if you're a golfer, you might think about golf courses. Anywhere that there is a sport that's playing needs marketing people to get participants there. So just another avenue. Okay, this one I'm going to ask you to put 3 stars next to, if not more. This is the best. If you take one thing away today, if you do one thing in your quest for building a career in sports, join the National Sports Marketing Network. Is anybody a member, or has anybody heard of this before? Okay. It's about $100 for membership for a year. It's fabulous. Has an outstanding board. Has chapters across the nation, so it doesn't matter where you are. You can, within a reasonable, travel distance, you can attend something. This organization holds fantastic, unbelievably well-attended networking events. And I mean, in all of my days of networking and years of networking, I have never seen events attended this well. I mean, it's just really incredible. So networking events, they're doing a lot of buzz around the Olympics right now. Very topical events. So there's always something about what's going on in the news, and this has been the past year's been kind of a big news year for sports. A lot going on, a lot of controversy and juicy things going on in the media. So this is phenomenal. There's also job searching assistance. I have not tapped into that, but it is more than just a job bank. There is a job bank, but then there is something that you can tap into that will, there's a service that will take a look at your resume and look at possible introductions. So fabulous, fabulous networking opportunity. And CTAM, the Cable and Telecommunications Association for Marketing. This is how I got my job at Fox. And I'm going to tell you this story because if I just tell you that networking leads to great jobs, you wouldn't believe me. So, I mean, you know networking is important, but seriously, when I tell you this story, you'll really understand the value in belonging to these groups. I was living in Los Angeles, and I had joined this organization and to become president of the Southern California chapter. And as president, had offered to host the holiday party at my home. At the time, I was working for Cox Communications, the cable operator. I was not working on anything in particular related to sports. I really had just held a variety of marketing roles there. But as you have already heard, the cable operator is one of Fox's most important customers. So I was at the holiday party, and all the usual cast of characters is there at the party. And then who should pull up but the senior vice president of affiliate relations from Fox Cable. And this is a pretty substantial commute, and I'm thinking, this is pretty cool. This guy came down here to Redondo Beach for our holiday party. Well, turns out he was looking for a new RVP. I had no idea. And about an hour into the party, we got into some conversation, and he said, hey, you know, I'm looking to, you know, I've got to fill this position. And I was clueless. I was not looking for a job. I hadn't even ever thought about getting into sports. This is the furthest thing from my mind. But I'm feeling a little goofy, and I say, well, Sean, you do need a woman on your team, after all. And I had no idea he was looking at me for this job. So he said, great, let's interview on Monday. And wouldn't you just know that that's how I got into Fox. So it really just, it happens. So when you're, you know, when you're there in that environment, talking to the people who will make the decisions, and you're putting your best foot forward. By the way, this guy had already called every name in my Rolodex. He already knew all about me. He had called everybody he knew that had worked with me in the past. You know, he had asked, you know, other members of the CTAM board about me. He had already done his homework. So, you know, it's all just sort of a testament to, you know, being out there and maintaining a good positive reputation and keeping that Rolodex up. So there we go, the power of networking. Okay, a couple others. Again, women. By the way, I was the first and only female regional vice president at this company. And I can tell you that there is room for women. You know, we have a couple of ladies here today, and I know we don't have more. You know, we have a lot more female representation in the IMC program than we have in this room. But I'm telling you, there's tremendous opportunity for women in this field, because there's not much, eh, right? You know.
I would say there are more women in the state national office.
See, that's great. That's a great story. And here, you know, many of these organizations, because, you know, we're talking about the longevity, you know, of employees. I mean, most of the guys that I worked with, you know, started out selling cable door to door, you know, or started selling these cable networks from scratch. You know, just really tenured people in the industry. Think one way. Haven't had a lot of women in the workplace, and it was interesting coming in and bringing this. You know, I'm a former customer, and I understand what the customer's thinking when we're in these negotiations. Was kind of my sales pitch. That was sort of my story as I was interviewing with Fox. It was, you know, this is a dimension that you don't have on your team that you really need. So it was really fun, and I just, you know, really want to emphasize that there's really tremendous opportunity for women. And there's another website too that you might want to check out, and it doesn't really matter what, you know, what your background is, but NAMIC.com, N-A-M-I-C, is actually an organization that supports diversity. Interestingly, CTAM, that I had already talked about, has downsized a little bit as the marketplace has changed. So as cable operators have consolidated and networks have consolidated, CTAM has now eliminated its local chapters and is now a national organization. But with the growing emphasis around diversity in the workplace, NAMIC has grown. So it's very interesting, you know, that you know, there's sort of this, you know, constantly changing dynamic in terms of which organizations are, you know, have the most reach. So NAMIC is another one just worth writing down. And all of these sites have job boards. Well, I think that that is what I have in terms of slide material, and I'd love to answer any questions about anything that I didn't cover or anything else that you just want to know. Thanks, guys.